close enough. What is up, Facebook world? This is Kimberly and Connor Tracy over here at Big Red SEO. We're actually not located at our Exarban office today. We are at our home office. One, because the internet is super fast and super quick. So if you guys are tuning in and watching us live, let us know that you can hear us. We're going to test the audio real quick.
Yep. So I'm going to sit here and not say anything for a couple minutes.
You're fine. You're fine. So if you are tuning in for the first time and you found us on YouTube or any of the other cool places that we are located at, we are website designers that focus core on WordPress platforms, as well as we specialize in SEO and pay-per-click. Whenever we work and utilize different services with clients, we find that we wind up helping them more on a mentoring and a coaching business area. But we actually have been doing these weekly recaps for over a year. This is actually episode 64, which is a huge commitment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, huge commitment because we have to get everything set up. And throughout, if you guys have been following us for a while, we actually had them on Fridays for a bit. And then we switched to test it on Tuesdays. And then now we're switching back to our original Friday. Mm-hmm. A couple of reasons for that is, one, we found that we wanted to engage with you guys a little bit more and have a little bit more flexibility on Fridays. But then in addition to it, it's really important for us to take like what we're capturing throughout the week, right? And troubleshooting and answering frequently asked questions and all that stuff. And so what we found was, if we did the Facebook Live on Tuesday, we only had one full business day to be able to get that process through and gather that information, versus a Friday we can kind of like truly recap our entire business.
Right.
So were you able to test the audio?
I have the audio tested, and that is working.
Good.
I can now take my earpiece out.
Yeah, you take your earpiece, or you could leave it in and it sounds like you're a singer. You're like a singer. Like, I was listening to Britney Spears today, one of her random songs. Whenever I was in my 20s, I knew all the words. But it's amazing how whenever you listen to a song, you remember the lyrics like that if you liked it. But that's what you look like, was a rock star. Boom.
Well, you know, I'm a rock star.
So as you guys tune in, or if you're watching us on the replay, feel free to tell us where you're coming in from, where you're tuning in from. It's kind of cool to see what businesses are here or marketing individuals are here. Today we wanted to touch base on a couple different areas that you need to ensure that you're testing on your website, if not monthly bare minimum, ideally maybe sometimes weekly. There's this thing where if you're building a brand new website, you like build it and then you set it and you forget it. And you're like, well, why isn't things working? Where is the stuff that's working? If you wind up actually building your own website, sometimes, and we've experienced this, we've busted through it because of the business that we've built, but sometimes you're in the design so much that you actually forget to look at certain things or to test certain things. You just kind of like skim over it. You've looked at it 50,000 times. It's no longer there to you. Or you make a list and say, oh, I'm going to come back and fix A, B, and C. And then that never gets done. It never gets completed.
From time to time, you know, certain sections, let's say like at the footer.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm going to put in a phone number. So I'll put in XXX-XXX-XX. And just completely out of my brain that it's supposed to go. And it's like the night before we go live or the morning that we start to go live and I'm doing final check through. Yeah. And I see, oh, yeah. I suppose we need to put that phone number in
Well,
there.
And the really cool thing about us working together is we're very left brain, right brain. So like if he catches things, then I'll catch things. And then so we come together and we like clean things up. But I know that if you're building it yourself at home, or it's part of a project, or maybe you've outsourced it somewhere, there's still these areas that's really, really critical for you to test. And if you're okay with it, I'm just going to dive right in.
Sure.
Unless you had some other kind of intro.
I have no input.
Okay. Oh gosh, you always have input. Okay, so
I'm going to sit here and drink my coffee.
Drink his coffee. The main area that you want to ensure that you always test is if you have a contact form, that you actually test and put your own information into your contact form. There's 3 reasons for this. 1, we need to know that it works, right? Mm-hmm. 2, you need to know that it's actually being sent to the right email that you prefer and that you want. And 3, you need to know what it is your end users are going to experience whenever they submit the form. So that way, whenever you get the form, you can say, hey, I noticed you popped on such and such website, or depending on where your form's located, you can actually figure out what page they were located on. Mm-hmm. So like we've built designs. Our old site was like this. I think our current site might be like this.
Yes.
If people are on the website design page and they submit a contact contact form, we know that they're interested in website design services because they submitted it from that specific page, right?
Yeah, inside of the different contact form systems, so most of them anyway, you can include what the URL is and the IP number of the person that's submitting. So using those two pieces of information, you can now know that they're on the web design page, or they're on the SEO, or they're on the pay-per-click page. And then using the IP numbers, you can cross-validate that information with, if they say they're in Omaha and the IP number is out of India, there's probably an issue.
We've had that happen before.
So, and I'm not saying that, you couldn't have been on vacation in India and decided, let me go ahead and contact Big Red SEO. But the chances is fairly minimal.
Far few in between. But the cool thing about it is...
But you can track all that information. That's what I was going with.
Yeah. And so the cool thing about submitting your own contact form, one...
I should turn on the light.
Yeah, you can. Go ahead. It gives you a little bit of peace to know that, people are actually filling out the form. The form is functional, right? The other part too, really quickly, side branch, maybe a little bit of a distraction. A lot of times people just do contact forms. That's the generic name, address, phone number, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera. If you wind up asking specific questions over and over and over in your business when people call you about services, the contact form is a great area to capture those and that information. Of course, you can always capture the generic, how did you hear about us, stuff like that. Or you could do a drop down on what service are you interested in. So if you have 8 services, again, to narrow down the thing, we just built a massive website design for one of our awesome clients. And we actually utilized the contact form to narrow down specifically who the person was. Because in the ideal world, they only want to attract their target market, their ideal market, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And one thing extra that we put onto the form, people leave their email address and phone number, please call me back. What's the best method? Is it email or phone? But one of the other items that we added in there was, what's the best time to call? Is it morning? Is it afternoon? Or do they prefer email altogether? And just that little information will help them figure out what's next.
It's kind of like our little secret, but it's not a secret anymore.
Because
think about this, your end user, say that they're the military, or say that they work overnight job, or say that they're doing something else and they want information for sure. Typical cases, people would just pick up the phone immediately, but there's kind of a respect and people really appreciate when you ask them what time, because say they have kiddos running around, but they have a daycare babysitter at a specific time and they can have a little bit more quiet space. We actually got the idea for a service repair. They always gave us the 2-hour window. And we were like, man, how would that be? How would that work out if on a website people asked within a 2-hour window, can I contact you here and here? And when we work with our clients and we talk to them about time blocking, it actually helps because they can do all their prospect calls within that certain time chunk, if that makes sense. So a little bit deeper. But okay, so when it comes to websites, what other parts should people, business owners, marketing individuals, be testing, if not monthly, weekly?
Yeah, so you mentioned the contact form and going through that whole process of the contact form. When you go through that, sometimes there's pop-up windows that'll say, thank you for submitting, and it might be in a different color than what you expected. So definitely go through that and make sure that's squared away.
Test the text. If the text is white and it's on a white background, again, test it. Don't assume, especially if it comes in a template and a theme.
And test it on a mobile phone. I think that's the biggest thing is that, depending on the traffic, a lot of the traffic these days has gone into mobile phones end of things. We're seeing 50, 60, and 70%, depending on the websites, that all the traffic is going through mobile. So just because everything is working okay on a desktop computer or it's working okay on a laptop, so my resolution on my laptop is different than Kim's resolution. And then we have different phones, and we have Apple, and you have Safari to worry about. So you have to test in cross-browser. And it's not just do it once and forget about it.
Right.
You should revisit it from time to time. So the other area that I would definitely test would be just the phone number.
Right. Yep.
Making sure that the click-to-call button on the mobile, when you're on mobile, if that button is clickable, if it's not, then talk to your web designer and get that clickable. If they can't do it, contact us, and we'll make it clickable. But because it's mobile phone, everything on there needs to be quick access, easy access.
Yes.
And testing the phone, making sure that it actually goes to the right place, making sure somebody's answering it correctly.
Right.
Using the full business name, not just hey, this is Bob's, what's up?
Unless your company's called Bob's.
Yeah, but hi, this is Bob's Burger. What can I get you? You know what I mean? So anyway, testing those things because people are going to use those methods.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're doing to call you. If you're running an e-commerce site, and I deal with a lot of e-commerce sites, but check the checkout process. When was the last time you purchased something yourself from your own website? What are users experiencing? And if it's something, if you can get a niece or a nephew and tell them, hey, go on the website and buy, let's say it's red shoes.
Yeah.
Go on there, buy a size 6 red shoe and, see what the process is.
Right.
And look over their shoulder what they're doing.
Yeah.
If they're moving their mouse all over the place looking for stuff, you've got a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, if they can't find it quick and easy. Really quickly to recap about the click to call for the phones. So you guys know mobile is becoming friendly, or mobile is becoming super, super popular, right? So the stats that Conor gave, they are hardcore. I mean, Google specifically has said mobile indexes first. They're going down the pipeline. They've actually have a strategy of something totally different that we're not going to talk about today, but it's coming and it's coming fast and it's a hot locomotive, right? There is a chance that your industry might actually still be heavy in desktop though, right? There's for our industry, yes, some people come through mobile, but a lot of people are doing research and knowledge, and then so they utilize their desktop. We of course always design in mobile first. That's important, not just for the Google side, but just from an end user perspective. The other part too is, say that you have the phone number and the click to call. If you have a vanity number, I get you, I understand you, I appreciate you. If you can, do not utilize the vanity number in your website, because when people pick up the phone and they click the call and say that you have 1-800 something piece, right? The phone's not gonna dial the actual letters. The letters are utilized for TV and radio. It's utilized for billboard ads, magazines, so people can really quickly, really fast figure out what the phone number is, right? Yes, you can sprinkle out the vanity number throughout the website, but just know if people are in a blog article, they're going to want to click and call your actual phone number. They're not going to want to have to copy and paste and figure out. I mean, you ask somebody where the P, what number is associated with the P now, and they probably have no freaking clue, right? So just make sure that if you have a vanity number, and this flows over I talk to a lot of clients about this too. It flows over into social media too. A lot of people use the vanity number in their social media posts and statuses. Again, remember, people are on their social media apps, so when they click, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do anything because it's letters, right? Yes, you can highlight, copy, and paste it, but then you have to put it in your phone and figure out what letter goes to what number, and then it creates an inconvenience, right? So those are really, really good tidbits that you provided. What else should people be testing on a monthly within their website?
Well, within the website, I mean, I've got 1,000 things you should be doing. Stuff that I do on a regular basis, but just making a backup. I mean, make a backup for your website, but that's less testing and more maintenance. Right. But I guess the testing aspect would be, hey, you made a backup. Good job. Have you tried to unzip it and make sure it works? But that's... Yeah,
so within a website, say that you go and you update things pretty often. Maybe you're creating some landing pages, right? You've got some promotions, you're doing landing pages. One of the things that we see a habit happens, and they just don't know. So we're going to share it with you, a little tidbit of education. So they'll have a promotion, they'll do a landing page, and when it's done, they delete it. Well, I get it, I understand it, but the challenge and the issue is that page has already been indexed more than likely. But then if you've created internal links throughout your website, you need to go back through and clean up those links, because if you delete that page, there's going to be links that are no longer going to work. They're no longer going to lead to where they need to go, right? So whether you're doing a landing page or you're linking internal, it's always recommended to go through and test. You don't have to do it every single month, guys, but maybe you take a handful of pages and just hover over the link and make sure it goes to where you're needing to go. You don't have to click it by any means. If you do click it, cool. The other thing too is to test and make sure that your external links that you're linking off to are still working.
Right.
We can't tell you how many times people have linked off to a resource and that website's no longer online, right? So from an end user perspective, like as a business and a marketing, you may not even think anything about it. But as an end user, they're like, what the hell? The person's sending me information. They're talking about this data and then they're sending me to somewhere that it doesn't work. And then what happens is they experience frustration, devastation. They get confused and they just leave.
And it's your fault, not the site that deleted the content. It's now your fault because you sent them to something else bad.
Yeah. So it's like you recommended them to go through that path. Yeah. If you do external links, just best practice, have it open in a new window. So that way, if that site's no longer working, they're going to click the X. They're going to be mad
and be back on yours.
You would be back. They would be back on your actual website if that makes sense.
Yeah, and really, any external site should open in a new window anyway, no matter what.
We always say that, and sometimes contact forms in an internal website, depending on what's the sales process, right? Like if it's something that they need to fill out some information, they might reference back and forth. I don't know. Like some clients we do where the contact page opens into a new one.
So like a booking form. So if you're doing a booking or an online scheduling
like an employee application.
I do all those inside of the website, not opening up an external thing, even though it's going off to a different place.
Yeah.
Because once they're done with the booking, they're not going to go then read more information on your website. Yeah. That part of the sale has already been done. They're just going to close the window.
They're like, I'm done. They're going to go off on YouTube and watch kittens and fun videos.
So going back to the links. Yeah. So inside of Google Search Engine Console, Google Webmaster Console, that will list it'll list a number of links that come into your website and also links that you're linking out to. Right. And it can give you a 404 report that 404s are errors or that the page can't be found and so forth. So it does have a halfway decent list there. If you're using WordPress, the plugin that I recommend to use is called Redirection. It'll actually track all the 404 errors, all of the page errors that pages don't load or they load too slowly. And then you can determine if you want to run a redirect on there.
Yeah, and if you're getting ready to redesign your website or relaunch a new design, make sure you have a strategy before you actually launch with those links. It's one of the things that we see people get really messy, really quick, really fast. We just literally had a conversation with a client that was like, oh, I want to draft these pages and then publish them later, like where it looks like I've got new content. These are like things you don't want to get into because you've already been indexed, but you want to just make sure that your current existing clientele, if they've come to your website, that you're leading them down the path and they won't experience the broken pages or gone pages or deleted pages, if that makes sense. Yep. I would say the other thing for me that I see happen a lot is if it's not necessarily the contact form, but maybe an application form or a survey form, go through the process of filling out your own form, right? So like, don't just put A, B, and C, whatever in it. Go through the entire process and see like, what does it feel like and do the things work, right? So like, we've had people like create their own stuff and then all of a sudden they go to submit and everything submits blank because they didn't actually go through the process to test it themselves. And they'll be like, why do I just keep getting blank emails? Well, the thing is they never tested it on their end to make sure that it works, if that makes sense. And
also test your internal process.
Yeah.
So I have a client of ours that we've worked with on a number of times, but they went through the process or there's submission forms that go through and so-and-so is supposed to call those people back. And it usually takes a day to or 3 days before that's done, unless she's out on vacation, and then it could be a week or more.
Yeah.
And it's always been in the back of my head that, hey, you need a secondary thing in place. You need to get CC'd on the email or something and make sure that's being followed up on. If somebody's asking for an appointment and you're letting it go 3-4 days before you call back or email back or anything else, there's a problem internally that needs to be discussed. Yeah. So not just filling out the form, making sure the data comes through, but what happens after it does come through? What does your staff do, or what do you do? Do you find it? Is it in your spam folder? All those things that you need to check. run the process.
Yeah, and just to wrap up, guys, a couple other things. One, if you are publishing blog content and you push the article out, go back and actually view your blog page to make sure that the article showed up and to make sure that it looks the way that it's supposed to look, if that makes sense. If you're sharing blog articles on your social media page, which we highly recommend so you can drive traffic back to your website, make sure that whenever you put the link inside the social media, you test the link that it goes back to your website. Like, we cannot tell you how many times people will leave something off and the picture might show and all the content might show, but the path is broken and it doesn't work.
Both on social media postings and on newsletters.
Yeah.
We've had people send out newsletters for articles that are still drafted that never actually got published. So when the newsletter goes out, there's nothing actually to link to.
Yeah.
So there's issues there.
Yeah. So we recommend, like, with your own website, make it a habit to kind of go through and see. A couple other benefits of you guys doing this from a monthly standpoint is, say that you've decided to revise some of your content. You don't have to sit down and do it all in one shot. If you make this a monthly trend where you go through and you test these different areas, you can do little tweaks here and there within your content. Maybe you decide to add a new service and you can like wiggle that into the content. You can decide, oh, those images are kind of stagnant. You can flip the images out. There's multiple different things that you can go through. But we just wanted to do this quick, really recap weekly video about things that you needed to test on your website in general, because we have people come to us all the time and they don't do these things, right? Like, and it's one of the first things that we test on any website that we're doing anything on, just to see the path of what is it going to look like? Where is it going to be? Now, granted, we're the website designer, so it's expected for us to test it, right? But we do know that we have fans and followers that design as well as do their own gigs, and that's absolutely cool and okay. Just make sure you get into the best practice of what ways can you serve your clients the most in the end user experience. Because here's the deal, guys. You get one shot, right? You get one shot when they visit your website. And if you have anything that's messed up, tolerance is like slim to none when it comes to websites and functionality. Yep. Every once in a while, if a contact form doesn't work, they'll pick up the phone, but they're going to be frustrated whenever they talk to you. And we just say instill peace and give them everything that they need to make a really good, clarified question, answer, decision on purchasing. Does that make sense?
It does. So
cool.
I'm going to throw this up here. For more information, you can go to facebook.com/Big Red SEO. We have our Twitter, which is kind of done, but twitter.com Big Red SEO. And then YouTube, you can watch any of our videos, our past Facebook Lives, youtube.com/Big Red SEO. The Twitter is kind of 50-50, gets a little bit technical because it's sharing of other articles that happen on the web with regards to SEO.
So if you like technical stuff, Twitter's the place to go, right? Yeah. We're going to be amping up our Facebook a little bit more. So far, we've been using it for videos, which we absolutely love. We've been testing stuff in the background. But in the meantime, if you want to share and follow, if you got benefit from this video, feel free to like, share, or comment. Conor will actually be taking this whole entire thing and doing his magic video form. So it will be located in YouTube. So if you, maybe you're not a social media person or you don't want the distractions, go and subscribe in the YouTube. And then you can actually get a notification of the high def. Is that the right language? High def video he works so hard on. So he does really good.
You know, on Facebook, all the videos are 720p, which is just kind of blurry when you make a big screen. But who doesn't want to see my face at 27-inch monitor? And let's get real. So.
All right, guys, we hope you have a great weekend. We'll tune in next Friday. But in the meantime, if you got questions, send them our way. We'll figure out how to get some answers.
Very good.
See ya.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye now.